In the early area, seems to be this panel that we can step on and it lights up one of the blocks. I'm not sure what it does exactly, but we jump across anyway and see these 3 enemies on the other side. The fights are super quick and then really not that difficult, but I'll go ahead and speed up this fight for you guys so you guys can see how simple they are at this stage. Just a couple of attacks from all the party members and healing up just to make sure we're all okay. But for the most part, we'll just skip out any short fights like this as yeah, they're not very difficult. After the fight's done, we head to the left side of the map where we see another one of those pillars, and this time I realized that there's a path you actually have to follow, so it lights out the path for us, which is pretty cool. Go ahead and follow that exact path to make sure we don't make any mistakes, and this time we see 4 enemies on the other side with that special enemy again that only has 1 HP and seems to charge a skill at the beginning. But yeah, we just go ahead and Moonerang to cancel that skill as soon as. You guys will notice that once you remove the skill charging bar, it actually doesn't take any damage. The damage is 0, but it kills it instantly, which is pretty cool. From here, they're all low from the Moonerang, so we'll go ahead and clean up all the enemies with a basic attack from each of the party members. And yeah, pretty good to go. Moving on, we see some more panels, one on the right side that reveals half of the path, and one on the left side which reveals another half of the path. Fortunately, our memory doesn't fail us and we actually managed to jump over all of these. Or do we? No, we do. We're fine. When we make it to the other side successfully, which is pretty good. There's a couple of ladders to climb, but once we reach the top, there's another light here that we can enable, which gives us the 3rd little pillar activation thing back on the main station, or whatever we call it. And yeah, that means we can put all 3 crystals on there at the same time, which is perfect. But we haven't tried the red and blue combination yet to get a purple portal, so let's go ahead and do that and enter the purple realm. Entering the purple realm, there's quite a lot of pathing to do here, so we'll go ahead and speed this up in 3 times just so you guys can see how we managed to activate this beacon, which reveals a path, and we get to this, like the top of the platform. So all there seems to be here is a fishing place and a well. Speaking into the well, there's a guy in there. He's like, oh hey, and he said he's lost his watch and a fish swallowed it. So, you know, guessing it's probably that one that's shining over there. So we go ahead and perform the swimming action, try and get this watch for the guy. I haven't done the swimming thing for a while, so I was a bit rusty, but yeah. We managed to get the watch, we give it to the guy in the well in the end, and he gives us a little something for our trouble. Contains a really good piece of armor that gives you a lot of magic defense, 19 extra for Zale, which is really good. But with that equipped now, we go back to the main area, go ahead and rest up our party, then we put all crystals on and head into the final portal, which is this white portal that's created. And we're in this crazy looking realm. Gar seems to have found something interesting, so the party come over to see. Yeah, and suddenly this is not looking good. Zale's ready, Valir's ready, Gar's ready, and this interesting specimen, I don't know what you call this thing, comes out and attacks us. We got a boss on our hands. We start out by just using a simple basic attack with Zale, and we can see it's resistant to it, so I guess we got to use magic here, which will do some more damage. It has this single target attack on our allies, which doesn't do too much damage, so it seems okay for the meantime. Kicking off a Moonerang with Valir, we get some pretty nice damage in. We also focus on healing up when we can, just to make sure we're all full HP for any unexpected occurrences. It then shapeshifts halfway through the fight into this form, and now when I use auto attacks like this, it's vulnerable to that, so less spells and more auto attack damage, I guess. It also has this insane spell that almost one-shots Garl, like that is insane. But yeah, we get a bit crazy. We go for the full heal onto the Garl there, using those extra charges as well, which is pretty good. After a few attacks back and forth from the team, then ends up doing that crazy rally once again, which brings Zale down to very low HP. But then we heal him up with Gar, sorry, and he shapeshifts back, which is nice. I think this form's a little bit better. But then he summons one of those crater-like things, and we decide to go in with an all-out Moonerang with 3 charges. This turns out to be a mistake because the creator thing hasn't started charging its skill yet. So we do some good damage to the boss, but that thing's still alive. At this point, I'm a little bit stressed. It hasn't actually done anything and we can't hit it. So I go to attack it to see if that does anything. And we learned from earlier that it needs to charge its skill like this, right? But now we've used all of our mana. We've used our previous turns. So I don't know if we're going to be able to stop it charging. At this point, I can see it's got 2 moon symbols, so I use 2 charges for Valir, but it only takes off 1, so I guess you can only do 1 per turn. And at this point, it's going to cast its skill. Okay, so it just one-shot Zale. He's on 1 HP. We managed to block it. I don't know if that made a difference or not, but now we're not looking so good. If we see one of those again, we need to take it out fast. Mending Light here should do the job. Healing up everyone to full HP. We go for another fully charged Moonerang here, which again, if we haven't learned from last time, we'd probably wait till one of those things are summoned, but we get some nice damage onto the boss anyway. And to no surprise, it summons another one straight after we do the Moonerang. We don't have enough mana to cast the Moonerang, and we can only take off 1 of the charges, but notice that it still says power 100, which is not really normal. So not sure what we do. We'd have to eat the damage, I guess, from it. Valir ends up taking the blow, knocking her to 1 HP, and the boss starts casting it. Shapeshifted during the meantime, and it casts with 4 turns. We need to get rid of this cast. I have no idea what it does, but I don't want to find out. We managed to quickly knock off 3 out of 5 charges, which is really good. Then we heal up Valir with an item here because she's in critical condition, followed up with an attack from Garl, and then in the next turn we can hit with Zale again, just in time before he can charge. At this point, we're in a decent position. Everyone's kind of healthy. We got some combo meter, so let's try this new bash drop ability from Valir and Garl, and that ends up finishing off the boss, which is pretty cool, well played, and good stuff. So with that, we was able to attain the coin, as you guys can see in the last scene. Nathan says, you know, good job and everything, and we can actually just go back to the docks now. Once we get back to the port of Brisk, the port town of Brisk even, we end up looking around for a little bit, but we find the crew standing here outside the ship, and we let them know that we have the coin. They're really happy about it. They deem us as pirates now, which is pretty good. And we asked to go to WRAITH Island, and they're like, sure, but our ship is actually tiny, very tiny. So our team are a little bit shocked, but hey, they're gonna take us anyway. And before we go, they ask us if we're ready, and we say no, and we have a look around and find these chests littered around, actually containing gold, which is pretty cool. We also see this mini game in here where you can kind of guess what's in which chest, or pick a random chest to get a prize, but we don't get it, and we don't continue not to play any further for now. But more chest hunting before we go. One of the chests contains a power belt, which increases your attack, and we decided to equip that to Garl, just so he's got a little bit more attacking power. Found another chest as well. Turns out we missed a lot of these when we first came to the town, so good job we checked. But after that, we go back over to the crew, let them know that we're ready to go, and we set sail. The boat trip ends up being quite long, and the group end up talking about how going to WRAITH Island is a one-way trip, which is a little bit scary and intimidating. There's stories of the Dweller of Woe kind of having mind control powers. Garl's a little bit concerned, but Zale and Valir let him know that, hey, we're all trained up for this, we should be all good to go. Also, the crew discover a ship called the Vespertine, which is actually a ship that they want to capture, the pirate crew. And if you remember earlier on, this is what the name of one of the stories from the traveling historian, I think, that we met. I don't actually remember where she went. But yeah, this is a look on the ship. It's kind of scary, and you can see it on the world map after this loading screen. From here, we're getting quite close to WRAITH Island, so they let us know to brace ourselves and we prepare to dock. We then get a little visit from this narrator guy, the archivist, and he basically just says that, hey, we've secured a ship to go to WRAITH Island in time for the eclipse, and that evil forces may be close to home, which sounds like it might be at the home village. But either way, we arrive at the island, on WRAITH Island, and the team are kind of having a conversation about what the night shroud is, which is like this gloomy fog around the area. The night shroud doesn't seem to disappear even if we take down the dweller, but other than that, we asked the pirates if they are okay with being here, sort of thing, and they're like, oh, we're super loyal, you know, it's okay if it ends here, no problem. We're just super nice to them. And then they kind of leave, saying they're going to play music in the nearest town, so we'll go meet them there. We then have a quick team meeting and decide we could take a short break by going to the town as well. After a quick save, we discover the area a little bit and we bump into our first couple of enemies here, so I'm intrigued to what these new enemies will be like. Straight away, I noticed that the zombie looking enemy has a different skill charge kind of ability. It looks like a poison sort of thing that we can't take out with any of our characters, so it's quite interesting, but we try and work on reducing the power anyway. This little wraith thing, I guess, has a simple attack like this. We don't manage to disable the charging, but it chomps on us with this kind of lifesteal attack that heals it a little bit. One attack from Valir into the next turn sees this guy charging up with 2 lunar spells and then a basic sword, so we go with the Moonerang to get rid of that spell. And nice. Moonerang complete. Attack from Zale to go ahead and get rid of the spell, but actually kills it in the end. Then the zombie is quite low, so Garl's able to finish him off, and that's the fight done. Moving on from here, we end up finding a chest that contains another rainbow conch. Don't know what it does, we need to find out. And this secret passageway here, which contains another chest. And turns out to be a trap, which is great. So we've got 3 of these wraith rings now that we need to take down. We end up hitting one of them with Valir, and then we follow up with Zale. Valir's move was a mistake. We meant to actually use Zale first, but one of them casts their skill, and it's just a group heal, and then the other one casts the group heal as well. So no damage taken, which is good, but it's going to be kind of annoying to take them down, I think. At the end of that turn, we use Garl to attack the middle one, followed by an empowered attack from Zale. Actually gets this one in the middle super low. Valir's able to finish it off, which is good, so we only have 2 to go. From here, Zale gets chunked out quite a little bit, and they're both charging a skill, so I could have actually just maybe focused one of them, but heal up Zale just to make sure he's okay. We then charge up a Moonerang, which is a mistake, right? They're both charging their skills, so even if we hit a good Moonerang, which we end up doing, they're just going to heal at the end of it, unfortunately. So 50 damage on both, or 52 on one, 50 on the other. Then they heal up. In the next turn, to finish it off, we use Garl to get them low, and from here we just kind of focus one of them until it's super low enough for us to take it out. And it should be kind of pretty simple. We use the combo meter that we have as well, just to make sure everyone's fully healed before we leave the fight, and then we take out the last enemy. The chest reappears, which is great. We open it up and get a calcite lid, which is kind of cool for Garl, can give it a little bit more attack power and stuff. And at this point, I realized that Garl has a lot of an attack power, so we remove the Leeching Fawn off Valir, put it onto Garl there, just to make sure that he can heal up from the attacks, because he has a lot of attack power. And let's adventure further into WRAITH Island. To clarify, like, Garl's gonna be my auto attacker right now. I think I'm just gonna use more basic attacks with him, especially because his skills are not as good. But we get into a fight with 3 of these enemies here, and we're kind of getting a feel for what they're like on the island. Starting off with Zale to try and disable the skill. We get 2 hits off, but we forget to charge with Valir, so we don't get the lunar skill charge thing procced, and he ends up using Chomp Chomp, which does significant damage and heals him a little bit. Garl ends the turn by doing significant damage to the first zombie. Then we unleash our Sunball, which does insane damage to all the enemies. Really nice stuff. With that insane damage, we're able to then finish off this second zombie with Valir. And from here, the fight is pretty much done, taking out a small wraith creature in the end. That ends up being the last group of enemies in this area, and we can actually exit off the map to the world map now, which is great. We end up walking on the world map and getting to the town of Lucent, which is the town I guess the pirate crew went to. taking a look around the town, there's a ton of houses we can go into and people we can speak to. First thing we do is jump over this wall and collect these plants, I guess. We also see this kind of enemy on the left there. I'm not sure what that is, but we'll come back to them later. Going into this first house, looks like there's a rainbow conch in that box even, but the lady doesn't let us have it, which is a shame. But then we head into this main center stage or center building, and we end up speaking to this receptionist guy. Or I guess he's more of a host, and his name's Edgar. Interesting. This entire introduction conversation is us telling him that we're here to help the town, we're going to cleanse it of the dweller, and he just thinks we're lying. He thinks we're pretending, he thinks we're making it up, and it seems like this is how the people act on the island, which is strange. The hotel is called the First Stage of Grief, which is quite fitting, I guess, and he lets us know some musicians have actually arrived. So we're like, oh yeah, they brought us here, and he's like, oh sure, yeah, of course. So they really don't believe anything we say. The team end up having a conversation about it, and we end up speaking to the musicians. Once we go up to the musicians, or the pirate crew, I guess, they mentioned that they want to capture the Vespertine, which is the ship, and one of the villagers say, oh yes, that's so happening. Like another example of them just kind of not believing anything. The musicians, or I guess the pirate crew, end up playing a song which is an altered version of the battle theme. Sounds kind of cool, to be honest. Then Zale and Valir get into a little conversation about Garl, and they're a little bit concerned because he doesn't really have the powers like they do to actually fight the dweller. They also realize how hard it will be to actually fix the town and make it all better, but they decide to have a break for the meantime, and we go and explore the town a little bit more. There's actually a way you can change the songs that they're playing on stage, which is kind of cool. You can pick a random song or just change it, which is kind of nice little touch. But we check this house on the right first of all and speak to this woman. Then we end up finding this mysterious door that looks like it needs a key that we don't have. Exploring a little bit more and going for a swim, we end up discovering another chest which contains another rainbow conch, which we need to figure out what it does. Then we end up going to the left side of the town and find a merchant that has some extra equipment for us, and we go ahead and upgrade Zale's sword and give armor to Valir. We also end up selling a shiny pearl that we had just to get some extra gold. Then we go back to the innkeeper, or Edgar I guess, and we rest for the night. Before going to bed, we actually have a feast with the pirate crew, just a little catch up for the end of the day I guess, and we discuss sailing with them after we finish the cleansing, which most of them feel happy about, but Valtrad says something that gets the captain's attention and she stops him in time. I'm not sure what that is about, but after the talk anyway, something funny happens. So that was kind of creepy. Someone just got taken away, it seems, and Edgar mentions something of like, oh, nothing happens, and the villagers pretend it basically just doesn't happen. But essentially the Dweller of Woe is taking people from the village, and Valir and Zale want to go save him or save the person, and the captain's like, no, you can't, you have to wait for the eclipse, etc. But Zale and Valir decide to go anyway. Garl decides to join as well, and he follows the two outside of the building. The captain then says they need to join the raft, and the crew are a little bit suspicious of it, but they let the captain go anyway, and I assume the captain might be following us, but I'm not entirely sure. As we leave, Valir says that we need to exit at the east side of the town. We then quickly go back to this person walking over here. I think it's actually a ghost spirit or something like that, I was told, but he has a turbo cookie that he requires that we don't have. And exiting to the east like Valir suggested takes us to the world map, where we find this ferryman's vigil. We end up speaking to the little guy, or scary looking guy, and he wants a colored flame, but we don't seem to have that for now, so we leave and exit back to the world map for the meantime and end up finding this solstice shrine. We end up looking around for a little bit, but don't actually find anything other than this pillar with this kind of wood and a rope attached around it, so we just leave, end up going back to the world map, have a look at the fishing place very quickly, and then enter the cursed woods. But for now, we can explore this in the next episode.